Welcome to the Dr. April Jasper Show, relevant conversations for business owners of today.
Are you looking for a nutritional supplement to help with your day-to-day vision needs? Look no further than MacuHealth. Recommended by doctors worldwide, MacuHealth offers a full line of products designed to support your vision and eye health. Available through eye care professionals on Amazon.com and directly on our website at MacuHealth.com. And here's the best part. Use the code OME24 when ordering direct from MacuHealth for special discounts. MacuHealth, nutrition you can see.
Well, David, it is halfway through the year. Hi, everyone. We're back, and it is June, July-ish. By the time you listen to this, what really is cool about where we're at today is that we are halfway through the year, 2024.
Wow. Crazy.
And we sort of committed to each other and to everyone that listens. And it's really fun because we've had people come up to us at events and ask David about his commitments. Nobody's asked me about mine. So,
what's up with that?
I don't know. I guess they're worried about you. No, I think they're worried about you. It means they know I'm going to do what I said I was going to do.
Okay, great. So I'm not going to follow through.
Apparently you're doing a great job, though. So let's bring everybody up to speed. What did you promise? What did you commit to? What were your goals for 2024? Can you name one of them?
Yeah, I think triathlons. I was working on the triathlons. So I was back in April, I think was May. My gosh. So May was my first one.
The thing says April.
For the Cocoa Beach.
Your Cocoa Beach one,
okay.
Because it's hanging in the office.
Okay, so that was late April. And that was mid to late April. That's correct, because I had my leg injury, remember? And I was worried about even finishing it. So I did the Cocoa Beach Triathlon, sprint triathlon. Yeah, sprint triathlon, which was like a 700-meter swim, a 12-mile bike, and then a 5K run. So that was late to mid-April. And then the crazy thing was I hurt my leg on April 4th running. I was in a 5-mile run and I pulled something really bad. So I was really worried about that race, and it hurt the whole race. I had like 2 or 3 weeks off, I think, from running. So I didn't run at all going into that race.
You did biking and swimming instead.
Biking and swimming. Yep. And then, I did the race. I started the race and it went okay. I could feel the injury while I was running, but it didn't bother me really. So I got through it. That was a good race.
And that was your first one, correct?
That was my first, besides the one a couple of years ago, the first little sprint.
That's right. St. Croix, you did one there.
Yeah, I did one in St. Croix 3 years ago almost.
And which one was more difficult?
St. Croix, because of the mountains, the hills.
Yeah, the Beast. You didn't actually ride up the Beast, though.
Didn't ride the Beast or run the Beast, but the end, Point Udall was extremely steep. And that was like a 300
We joke climb about it because I don't know that I could even walk up it.
Yeah, I think I might have walked up it. I walk up that. It was insane.
I'm sure I would take several breaks.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Yeah, I did.
But you did good on that one, and it was super hot.
The
and
Cocoa or the
St. Croix.
St. Croix, yeah. So I did good on that.
So you committed, though, January,
yeah,
when everybody heard us make our promises to each other, to ourselves, set goals.
Like my goal was to do a full Ironman, and I'm not there yet. I did a half Ironman in May.
Okay, so you did the
So I did the Cocoa Sprint, yep, which is a short one.
The next biggest one is a half Ironman?
Half Ironman, which is an Ironman 70.3.
Okay, tell us what that is.
Yeah, so I did that in Chattanooga on, May 19th. So May 19th, I got through it. The swim was 1.4-mile swim in the river in Chattanooga. Then we did a 56-mile bike, and then a half marathon, 13.1-mile run. So it was hard.
Was it harder?
It was, yeah. That was the longest run I've ever done in my life. And I still hadn't really healed completely with my legs, so I was not running except for just a couple of weeks before the race. So that was pretty stressful because I didn't know if I'd even finish. So I had no idea how that was going to go. But the race was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's fun. I'm looking for the picture I took. Steve doesn't even know I did, but we had set you off to go, meaning we got there at what time in the morning? 4:30?
4:45. We arrived.
It was
probably
dark.
At the park. Yeah. At the garage.
So we got up at a ridiculous time.
Yeah, I think we were up by like 3:45 because we were a 15-minute drive into town.
And my goals were a little different than yours. Obviously, we
Yeah.
wanted you to finish, and that was important. But
Yeah.
I just at first wanted to get a parking spot. So
Yes.
that was our first miracle.
Yeah.
So we got a parking spot in
Really
the
close.
garage, really close.
Yep. So that was great.
Yep. The
Super early.
Second thing we wanted to make sure of is that you got there on time and got on the bus to get over there.
Yep. Because we had to take a bus from the staging transition area, basically the finish start line.
It was pretty incredible.
From there, I had to take a bus like a mile and a half up to the swim start.
How many people were in it?
It's the largest Ironman 70.3 ever in history. It's had almost 3,300 people, which is pretty-
Participants. And then there were all of us.
All the family and people watching. Yeah. So there were people on the entire route. Not the bike as
Cheering,
much.
maybe?
Yeah. Not the bike as much because obviously we went like 27 miles south out of Chattanooga on the bike.
Right.
It
beautiful.
was so cool because every house, every driveway, people were just sitting out there with bells and signs and cheering you on. And
Wow.
whether you were 10 miles in or 44 miles in, there were people out there just cheering it on. And that's hours. So they were
Yeah.
sitting out there for hours.
Did it make a
waiting for people.
difference
It did. It made a huge difference.
to have people cheering
Yeah,
for you?
definitely.
I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of people, when the kids and I were cheering,
Yeah.
there were a lot of participants that would cheer back. They'd high
Oh, yeah.
five you. They,
100%.
we'd hit hands and sometimes just do a little jog next to them.
Yep.
But what was funny is you took off. So you got on the bus to go to start the swim.
right.
And we were
that was
walking
early.
by the pro section, and I forgot that Steve Rosinski, who's who works for Cooper Vision, who's
Yeah.
one of our sponsors of the podcast,
That's right.
I forgot he's a pro. And so we're walking along, and I go, man, I think I know him. And you know how when you see somebody that you don't expect to see in the
Yeah.
place they shouldn't be. So I look at him and I look at him again, and he keeps going, and it was too late then to run up to him. And I always worry about disturbing somebody at the beginning of a big event anyway.
Yeah, the
but,
pregame.
yeah, but that was cool. So
It
you
was
got on
neat.
the bus, you headed over to the swim. Tell
Yeah.
us about the swim.
Luckily, it was in the river, which was downstream, so we had some current to help us along. So if there was a good triathlon or a good Ironman to try, it was this one to start with because it was downstream a little bit, so that did help out. But it was still definitely tough. And you get in the water, and there's buoys. So they have buoys I don't even know, maybe it's every 100 or 200 yards along the path that you're supposed to swim, and you swim on either side of the buoy. But for the first 300, so for the first 3 buoys, there's like people like waving their hands, like, come get me and help me. And
Swimmers.
yeah. So it's like, and
They get panicked.
they have people on paddle boards all over the place, just helping people out because people
Yeah.
are panicked and they're like, they feel like they're going to drown.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you just kind of like keep swimming, and you see this guy looking over, then you see this guy over there, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to keep breathing and swimming. And
And it's not one of those times where you need to help somebody. You see them and
no, well, I
like,
mean,
I can't help you.
I'm not helping. I'm barely staying on top of the water myself. I'm not going to try and help somebody at this point.
Yeah.
You could, but as soon as you look over and you kind of see the paddleboard, and they're like, we're coming, and you're like,
Wow.
okay, they got them. So
And that's only
was
the
crazy.
beginning. So
that's just the beginning. That was in
Aiden
the
and
first 300 yards of
Wow.
a 2,200 yard swim. So yeah, in the first 300 yards, you're seeing people just like hyperventilating and stopping.
you think a lot of
So-
it is just the fact that they're nervous. The
Yeah.
water was cold.
Yeah,
Did y'all
because I
have
mean, even I
suits
was
on?
having issues. Yeah, I had my wetsuit on, so that floats you pretty good. So, and the water I think was 72, and being here in Florida, obviously, I'm not used to that. I'm used to the warmer water.
So then the swim is over. You jump out, run up to the transition area,
Yep, you run you're basically running with your wetsuit half off or half on you. and
undressing as you're running.
Undressing as you're running, and it was funny. I didn't even know this, but there was a little place where like people like ran over to the
Volunteers?
side. Yeah, and they had these plastic mats all over the floor, so people were running over there, flopping on the ground, and they pulling their feet up in the air, and people were like helping them pull their wetsuits off.
No way.
Yeah, so they actually had volunteers helping people just whip off their wetsuits, which is really cool. So I just ran
That's
into
funny.
the transition area. The transition area was this entire parking lot. You're talking 3,300 bikes. So you run in there, you have to change. Well, you put your socks, shoes, whatever you do, your helmet, gloves, try and eat or drink, whatever you can. And then you jump on the bike and you got to run all the way down to the end of the parking lot, which is probably, I don't even know. It was probably a quarter mile.
Yeah, it was a long distance.
So to even be able to get on your bike. So then you get on the bike and you go. You take off on that. It's a 56-mile bike. So that was I guess what, 7.
That took an hour.
That was
and a
about
half,
7:20 in the
2 hours?
morning. No, 7. That was almost 8:00 in the morning. So I think I officially started at what, like 7:15 a.m. because the pros went off at about 6:50 a.m. So I finally got in the water, and I skipped to the front kind of with some of the friends I was with, and we just jumped in the water at the beginning of in front of everybody.
Well,
It was
because
a good
you
swim.
knew, what were you trying? It was a race against time for you because
Yeah.
of what reason?
Mainly the heat.
It was going to get hot.
Yeah. So that's
Did
the
it get
goal
hot?
of everybody. It got very hot. I mean, I think they had a pro that didn't finish
Yeah,
the
it was
race
bad.
and he was actually leading the men, and he
Yeah.
didn't finish because he overheated. He overheated with like 2K to go,
Have you ever
which
run
is just unreal.
that far before?
No, I've never run over 12 miles in my life. And that was when I did that 12-mile run. That was 8 years ago.
Right.
So I had run recently. The furthest I had run was like 5 or 9 miles, something like that, 9 to 5 miles.
Yeah.
And then I got hurt on that 5-mile run a month and a half before this. So I was
So-
just totally stressed out.
What people don't know is some of your friends that you went with, they finished like an hour ahead of you, right?
Yeah.
Which
so-
isn't a big deal. They're
No, he
much
was-
better at it than
yeah,
you
he
are.
was he was almost an hour and 40 minutes ahead of me.
So Allie and Aiden and Kyle and I
Yeah.
are standing and we're cheering for them and we're taking
Yep.
their pictures. So they come across, 2 of the guys came across.
From the run, finishing the run.
Yeah, finishing. So
Mm-hmm.
they were done with the whole thing, and they are really strong athletes like
Yeah.
you, but they're experienced.
Yeah, they've done several full Ironmans, many full Ironmans.
So they come across, and I saw them both. They finished within about 5 minutes of each other, I think,
Yeah.
and they looked dead. I mean, exhausted, worse than I've ever seen them. So they come across, and I just went, "Oh my goodness, this is not good." And so I look at the kids, and we took their pictures and all that. I look at the kids and I said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but Dad's going to have a hard time. We got to get out there and cheer for him."
Yeah. It was
So
hard.
we went to every stop we could possibly make it to
Yep.
before you came back to the finish. So I think we
Yep.
found you at 3 spots.
Yeah, on the run.
And on
Because
the,
the
run,
run does a loop. It does a 6.5 mile loop and another 6.5 mile loop.
yeah, so we could cheer for you.
yeah.
And
It was a great city. It was a great venue, actually, if you think about it, right? You can see me on both the bridges because you go across the river and you come back
yeah,
across the river
it
on a
was
different
beautiful.
bridge. It was a great venue.
For us as spectators, it was so pretty. And watching the swimmers, I was so impressed. I could not believe it. I was in tears watching just the beginning, the swimmers coming across.
Yeah, there were so many people.
And some of them, you could tell they weren't strong swimmers. And I'd watch in my video. We have some videos. And this one girl comes across and she's like up and down. She's not even out swimming flat. She just looks like a bobber. And I looked at her, and it's on the video. And I said, "Oh, that's so cute." And then I go, I knew immediately I'm on video. And I go, "Good for her." And to be
she
real,
got through it.
she's out there. I'm not.
Yes,
So
yeah.
what can I say about it? She got
Yep.
through it.
Yep.
All right. So Dave, let's talk. Let's get real. You
Okay.
did it. It was awesome. But
Yeah.
tell people, what was a moment that stands out to you of either
During the
one?
race?
Pick either one. Yeah. A moment that stands out that really was something that you'll never forget. We are excited to have Cooper Vision as a sponsor of our podcast. Cooper Vision is one of the world's leading contact lens manufacturers, and they serve eye care professionals and patients in over 130 countries. Their innovative products help millions of patients see every single day. One of the technologies and innovations that we love the most about Cooper Vision is their groundbreaking technology in soft contact lenses that helps to slow the progression of myopia in children 8 to 12 years old at the initiation of treatment.
Oh man, well the finish line is just incredible. But I mean, when you're in the middle of it, I'm strong. The swim was good. It was easy because it was downstream.
Yeah.
The bike I'm used to. I can ride 150 miles on a bike if I have to. But I'm not used to getting off the bike and then going directly into a run
Right.
of a half a marathon,
Yeah.
which I've never done before. So that was weighing on me the entire ride, especially when I'm letting people pass me, because I'm letting people pass me on the bike because I'm trying to keep my heart rate down. I'm trying to stay as low. I'm keeping my heart rate as low as I can on the
Yeah.
bike to save myself for the run. So that's just, I think when you're riding and you're seeing people pass you, and pass you, and you're just like, I'm just going to keep on, I'm going to stay down, keep my head down, and just keep my own game. And it is, when you're doing a triathlon, it's your own game, because you're not allowed to, you can't draft. So when we go ride bikes, we're all on a line, we're behind each other, you can stay in the back and hardly pedal, honestly.
Yeah.
You can do 50 miles like nothing in a group, because you can draft and the wind never touches you. So you're just pedaling to keep up. When you're in a triathlon, if you're caught drafting, you're disqualified. I mean, they penalize you like 40 minutes or something, which will kick you out of the race if you're late.
So you had moments where you were worried about finishing? Is that what you're saying?
That's all I was worried about, was finishing, especially with the run. I just had no idea. I'd never run that far after riding and swimming.
So when you had a moment, your worst moment, think of it, you know what it is.
Yeah, there was a couple times running.
How did you come back from it? What were you thinking?
I think what helped me was the people I was around at that time.
Even though you didn't know them?
No, I had no idea who they were. But as you start running, you kind of, people pass you and you pass people, but then you kind of get in a group. Not a group, but you kind of, there's people within 100 feet behind you and ahead of you.
Right.
And you're just constantly kind of going back and forth with each other, and you're not talking, but you're just there, and you see people and you're just like, okay, I can do this. They're doing it. I can do it. And I just got to keep steady and walk if I have to and run if I have to. But yeah, there were several points along the way. I think 3 miles in, I was like, this is impossible.
Wow.
This is impossible. There's no way. I was so hot. I just remember thinking, there's no way. I got 10 more miles to go. I'm only 3 miles into a 13-mile race. There's no way I can do 10 more miles.
Yeah, we didn't have any doubt that you'd finish. Just so you know, the kids and I, we knew you were going to finish it. We just knew it was going to be really hard.
Yeah.
The heat was intense, to the point where I looked at the kids and I said, hey, whatever we do, don't complain, because we're just standing here. It is so hot. We were burnt. We were hungry. The third miracle for us after we sent you off on the bus and you knew you were going to get started was that we found a bathroom, because that was the other big challenge of the day for the spectators. Mm-hmm. It was incredible, for sure. So would you say then, David, that one of the biggest moments for you was, and one of the learnings for you was just how much you feed off the people around you and are encouraged by community?
Definitely. And, you just kind of rely on yourself, and you just kind of think about what's going to happen at the end. I think that's what just...
You see yourself finishing.
Yeah, and as you're going, and you would hear other people talking, and it was funny for me, but it was not funny for this other lady. So there was this lady kind of caught up to me and was running with me, and I think I had 3/4 of a mile to go, and I was almost done. So I was on my second loop on the run.
Right, were almost done.
I was at like mile 12.5.
Yeah.
And I knew, because I'm watching my watch, obviously, and I'm just kind of just running really slow, and this lady kind of catches up to me, and she's running along beside me, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to kind of hang, because she's running slow, I'm running slow, I'm just going to stay with her. And she was a new person, so I hadn't seen her. And then we passed this, we're like in the middle of a shopping center, or down, it was like a downtown area.
Right.
So we're like running, and somebody on the side says, you're almost there, you only got a half mile to go. And I'm like, yeah, right. And like 10 steps later, the girl next to me is like, that's great if you're on your second lap, but I'm only on my first. And I'm like, ooh. I really didn't know what to say.
Help you with
I didn't know what to say. I was just like,
you got this.
I'm like, you got it. You can do it. Just keep slow and steady. You've got it. But it's like, oh boy, that's bad.
So what was the message you were telling yourself in your head?
As what?
To keep going.
Just keep going. I mean, I would just walk.
One foot in front of the other.
One foot in front of the other, and just keep it steady. And you just get through it. And I had to end up walking. So hopefully my next one, I won't walk. Hopefully I can run the entire time and actually get through a lot faster. So
remember when you told everybody you were going to struggle to get this done this year, you thought because of the fact that you didn't have enough time to train. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that statement? How'd you get around it? Because we have still been traveling. We still have been going places and speaking and recording. And
yeah, this year I've definitely been more resilient, or not resilient, but dedicated to getting to the gym when we're traveling.
Right. Deliberate.
Yeah, just deliberate, making sure I'm doing what I'm doing. It's the hardest thing is swimming. It's just impossible to go to another town. And I mean, I found a couple pools when we've traveled so far this year, but it's just so hard to get to a pool when you're traveling. So it would just mainly be on the treadmill, or running around that city, or get on a stationary bike in the hotels.
Has it been helpful to have people come up to you and ask you how you're doing?
Yeah, I think so. I have had like 2 or 3 people, which it totally caught me off guard the first time the person said it. Like, how's your training going? I'm like looking around. I'm like,
Who's he talking
are
to?
you talking to me? But you just don't realize it. I guess it's good to see people listening and inspired by it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see. And a friend of ours over on the West Coast of Florida has been texting me. He's like, I'm so glad you got through that, and it's so inspiring. And that's cool. That's just, you can't, how do you put value on that? You can't.
Yep.
Especially when it's a friend and somebody that's dear to you.
Yep.
And it's just great to see the people
Yeah.
having fun with you.
It was encouraging to me. I mean, watching you, watching everybody else, seeing you cross the finish.
Yeah.
And I think just to know that when you do something that you've set your mind to, when
Yeah.
you accomplish a goal,
Yep.
it is so inspiring to other people.
Yep.
And I think the other lesson that you taught us too is you're going to have your head in your head. You're going to tell yourself a story that isn't true,
Yeah.
and you have to mentally
and
get past it.
You're not going to just tell yourself that. You're going to feel it.
Yeah.
When you're out there, and I know I said mile 3 and 4 were hard, but let me tell you, when I started that run, mile half, 1.5 miles, 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, and 4 miles were just horrible because you're just going through. There's no way you can't. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not ready for this. I didn't train enough for this, and you just don't know how you're going to keep going. But then when you do cross the line, and it's just so much better, and you just feel so much better, and you're just kind of going. And you know what? It's kind of embarrassing when you see somebody that's 20 years older than you and's got 30 more pounds on them or 20 more pounds on
Right.
them than I did, crossing the finish line before I did. And I'm just going, wow, I'm this age and I'm getting
Yeah.
through it. But those guys,
Yep.
they're really getting through it. So it's
Yeah.
I think that was one of the most inspirational things too, was to see all the people out there just working their tails off to get through it.
I think it's
So-
important for anybody listening to know that when
Yeah.
you have friends, you have family that have set a goal for themselves, what you do to help them get there
Right.
is so important.
Yeah.
Because no one can do it on their own. It's
Right.
it's so difficult. Even the pros, like even watching Steve, his kids were there, and there was one point he came off the transition and went around the corner,
Starting the run.
starting the run,
Yeah.
and his kids, I was going to cheer for him. And next thing I know, I hear these little voices and they're just screaming, go daddy, go daddy. And I look
Right.
over there and there's these little
Yeah.
girls running
Yeah.
and cheering for him. And I mean, the whole family, you could tell, is engaged in that for him and with him.
Right.
And
And
so,
that's just race day.
yeah, exactly.
you're
That
talking
doesn't
about
count all the practice.
Countless months before that.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, that was just to have you guys there and to have you guys there before that.
Yeah.
And then to have my teammates who were training with me and all
Yep.
along the way, have them be like,
Yeah.
we've got it.
That was
Let's
a
go
great
do
group
the-
of people.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony and Jan and those guys, they just were, Anthony was fantastic. He's a great coach for me.
Yeah.
And
It's
he's an
good.
inspiration. And you know, he'll tell you his own story. He's got amazing stories. He was a lot heavier than he wanted to be, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to start doing Ironmans. I'm going
And
to
it
lose
changed
weight.
his life.
It does. It can change your life, the way you feel about yourself.
And I think for our listeners, the thing to remember is it may not be that you're going to do an Ironman. I won't be. It's not my goal. It's not physically possible for me. And it's not that I'm giving up. It's just not what my goal
Right.
is.
Right.
I have other things I want to do that
Yeah.
are going to be equally challenging. And you support me in that and
Right.
help me to get there.
Yeah.
And you have the same roadblocks. The roadblocks we all have are not believing in ourselves.
Right.
And having something happen in life that looks like it's going to trip us up and ruin it.
Right.
But instead of letting it stop us, we have to look for a way around it, a way over it, a way through it.
Yep.
And then the encouragement of friends is incredible. So a big thank you from me to all of the people that encouraged you along the way.
Yeah. 100%. There's
And-
no way.
What would you like to leave everybody with?
Oh, just do something. Get up and go. You know, I was talking to my buddy Dave, who I ride with all the time. You know, we ride bikes tons together, thousands of miles a year. And it's just like, I'm like, you want to run with me? And he's like, no, I'm okay. But then it's like, he starts seeing me train, you know, getting ready for the triathlons. And he's like, you know, maybe I will run a little bit. So we went, it was funny because we did like a 50-mile ride, a month ago? Was it
Yeah.
a month ago maybe?
Yeah.
So about a month ago, I was up at his house. We went for a ride, went north up to Stewart or whatever, and came back. And we've done 55 miles or so. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go for a little run. I'm going to do like a 5K or whatever, just so I can feel my leg out. And because we're getting close to the race now. And he's like, I think I'll go with you. I'm like, all right. So he gets his shoes on and we go for a run. And he ran. And he actually was hit by a car a year and 3 months ago on his bike.
Yeah.
And broke his femur. He had to have a rod put in his femur, and he's like, I don't know if I'll ever run again in my life. And I was like, yeah, back then it was devastating for all of us.
An amazing miracle story.
And he's healed level, and he's same height in both legs, and you just never know what's going to happen after surgery. So he ran that 5K with me, and he's like, this is my first run. And I'm like, you did a 5K, and it was a run walk, but it was like you did a 5K, Dave, after doing, a 50-mile ride. So you're good. And he's been great ever since. And it's just funny to see his reaction and how it inspires people.
That's right.
What you do inspires people, whether you think you do or not.
I love it. So this is a business podcast, but it's always about inspiration. So being inspiring.
Yep.
And we just wanted everyone to catch up because they ask every time we go somewhere.
Yep.
And we're halfway through the year. So I think you're doing pretty good.
We're getting there.
Halfway through the year.
Yep.
And we'll give them an update on where we are with the things that I brought up too on another podcast. So thank you guys for being here. Dave, congratulations.
Yeah. Now we have a full one to go.
We can do it.
140 miles.
All right.